Welcome to week 4, the final lecture for COM354. This is actually going to be a fairly brief lecture. The goal of it is to essentially summarize all the things that have been addressed leading up to this week, not only in the previous lectures, but also in other assignments, the readings, and things like that. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so for now, what we want to look at is essentially the sum of everything that has happened in the class up until this point. Okay, in the first week we talked about relevance, so we got a pretty good sense of why it's important to learn skills and knowledge that are associated with building and delivering a presentation, namely because it's so prevalent in our society and it continues to grow, so the future is only going to require the skills even more so. Also, it's important to understand the content. In this case, the information that's going to be not only put in the slideshows, but also conveyed orally by the presenter. And some information was provided on design philosophies, theories on colors and images and contrasts, and all the essentially the sort of the aesthetic and multimedia elements that are associated with content, and specifically in this case dynamic content. And in any endeavor, whether it's for business or scholarly, as in this class, it's always important to have adequate research, so to be able to find information, to assess its value, to interpret it, and then to apply it to your presentation effectively. So it's very important to be able to do all of those things if you want to be a good presenter. Okay, the last two items, for example, application being one of them, is how you can apply this knowledge in the future. Again, I spoke briefly at the beginning of this slide how this is something that may be used very heavily in future presentations, and we've all experienced plenty of bad presentations in our life. So the goal, of course, of this class, and hopefully other classes and experiences similar to this, is to avoid those so you can become a stronger presenter and others may hopefully learn from your model and you can share your skills and expertise as well. The final thing I want to talk about is the assessment. Really, again, in this week, what you want to do is be able to look back and assess your learning. The assignment, you'll notice in the threaded discussion, is sort of tied to that, but essentially what you want to be able to do from your own perspective is to look at what the outcomes were for each week and also for the class to determine how well you feel that you've done in this class if you compare where you were before you began to where you are now, and of course where you are in the future after this week is over. So that's it for the final lecture of COM354. I want to thank you very much for taking the time to listen, and hopefully you have found this very helpful.